Greetings, Mark Kep here with Campground Views and the Campground Virtual Tours. In this video, I'm going to go through the techniques and suggestions that we see to drive more guests into your park and into properly using the Campground Virtual Tours. So this video is being recorded specifically for a client who asked for it, and I figured I could do this on a broad basis and provide everybody with this information because it's valuable to bringing guests into your park. So let's get to it. So title, Campground Virtual Tours, How to Improve Results for Your Park. We see a view here of a park with the virtual tour. We've clicked on the site and you see the information details. It's important to understand what these tours do and why they are so valuable. What they do is what we're seeing here. Think about all of the judgments and all the information you got from this one view. And as you well know within your virtual tour, I also have the ability to look around within this. But I can see how big the sites are, how far they are away from one another, what the road looks like, what the scenery looks like. I can even see buildings off in the distance. I get an overall view of the park. That's why these are so important. But what we know from the data is that you need to properly drive people into these campground virtual tours for them to be most effective. So what we are providing right now for all clients of Campground Views, Campground Virtual Tours, are these monthly dashboards, these monthly data reports. These are incredibly valuable for all of us to understand what's going on with the users on your website. We give you 4 information boxes here, and these are the 4 most important information boxes we can provide about the effectiveness of the tour. The first one is actually read in reverse. The most important ones obviously took a booking action, but the way I read these is in reverse. So I start up at the top right where it says total views. That gives us a raw number. How many people are actually utilizing the virtual tours? That number tells us everything else. So if it's one person, we've got a problem. The virtual tour is not placed in a place where they're finding it. If we have 24,000 views, we have to ask another question. How many sites do we have? This is crazy. We got 24,000 views in a month. These data reports are always a month. So once we have our baseline number of viewers, the next thing we'll ask is our average view time. This gives us some very important details. Obviously, number one, it gives us how long people view it on average. So out of 24,000 viewers, on average, they viewed these tours over 4 minutes for this particular park. And your numbers will vary based upon the size of your park and how you're using the virtual tour. What we don't want to see this average view time be is under a minute. If you're under a minute, we've got some problems. Usually those problems are in the way the tours are integrated within your website. We have some clients where their integrations are not appropriate, and the way they've integrated within their website because of their web developers, they're using the tours inappropriately, basically making it difficult for people to interact with those virtual tours. As a result, if you're a user and it's difficult to interact with the virtual tour, will you use it? No, right? Exactly. So your average time would be less. Whenever we see numbers above a minute, we know we've got at least a good or a decent enough user experience for people to be able to use the virtual tours. So that's why we look at the average view time. And note on this, 4 minutes online is an eternity. So like these numbers, whatever your numbers are, for all of our clients, they're usually 1.5 minutes to highest end we've seen is about 4.5 minutes average view time across numbers. That's an eternity online. The next, and obviously most important for the ROI aspect, are the booking actions. Now, to clarify, a booking action only occurs within the virtual tour. It's when somebody clicks on that visit button over one of the campsites and leaves the virtual tour into your booking process, whether that's going into your reservation system or going to your website. That's what a booking action is. When we look at those numbers, that's a clear indicator of somebody who was interested enough in that site to click on it to go into your booking engine. Now, what I would recommend you understand is, or in track, is that you have a code for your own Google Analytics on your reservation system to see, because you should be able to see these coming in, because we send a referral source code into that to be able to see those people landing on your reservation engine and seeing what they do on the booking process. In general, what we're seeing is between 40 and 60% of users that click that booking action actually end up completing a booking process. Whether they book that particular site or not, that depends upon availability. But that's why those 3 data elements are so important to look at. Number 1, how many people are looking at the tours? Number 2, how long are they looking at it? And number 3, how many of them actually take an action to go book that particular site? The last report down at the bottom here just gives you a general idea of how people are interacting with the tour. Generally speaking, video play and video pause are always 1 or 2. Sometimes it's reverse. It depends on how, again, the tour is integrated within the website, whether those two are reverse, but it gives you a general idea of how people are engaging within and to the virtual tour. So that's the nutshell. When we're looking at your data report, that's how to read it. What if you see, let me re-hit this a little bit real quick. What if you see low total views? I would want to then understand some other data points. And same thing with average views and so forth. So let's get into it. So we want to measure. You should have Google Analytics installed on your own website right now. If you don't, we need to get that installed on your website. And when I say we, you need to have your web developer install Google Analytics and set up conversion tracking. What the heck did you just say, Mark? Conversion tracking is code on your reservation engine that tracks the users who purchase and book a site. So that way then you can feed that data through your whole entire marketing chain and say, Mark Cap booked a site at my park on this weekend. Go find me more of people like him. And our marketing tools within Google and Facebook can actually go do that as long as you have conversion tracking on. But at a minimum, with Google Analytics, we're able to track users, see how they interact with your site, see their average length of time, see basically similar data to what I just showed you that we're producing for the Campground virtual tours. The other thing we'll want to understand is your booking reports. How many people are booking? You know, if we got 1,000 people coming to our website and we are getting 1 booking off of it, we've got a problem. So we want to know how many people in total are coming to the website through Google Analytics, how many of them are booking, and then obviously understanding our other financial reports and the impact of that. What's the value of a booking to you, right? Is a booking worth $40 or is it worth $200 because their average length of stay is 5 days? You need to understand those metrics. So understanding those metrics will also play a part into what I'm advising you to do for better use of the Campground virtual tours. What we are looking for in these analytic reports is we're looking for top of funnel. We're looking for how many people come into our website, what actions they take, and then how many of them finally book. We're just measuring it out. So when I'm looking at this, again, I just said it, we're starting our total traffic, total visitors, unique location. These data points are important. So if I look at a website and I see that it has 10,000 visitors and it's for a particular campground in, I don't know, it's in Wyoming where I'm at. It's a campground in Wyoming. It's got 10,000 visitors to its website. I really want to understand where those visitors are coming from. Are they viewing my website from within Wyoming, or are they all viewing it from like Florida or Maine, long distances away? Their source, where they're coming from, obviously impacts their likelihood of getting to me, how often they're going to come to me, and so forth. So understanding who is looking at my website is incredibly important to how I design it out. I've already mentioned average time, so I'll jump over that. The source referral, one of the things within your Google Analytics, and we track this too within the Campground Views, is less important because it's mostly campgroundviews.com and your own website for the source referral. But the source referral is where they're coming from. So if you're doing Good Sam advertising, you'll see a source of Good Sam going in there. So if you understand where your traffic's coming from, you know, right, your 1,000 visitors, how they reached you, they reached me organically, direct, Google Ads, other sources. As long as you know the source of them, how they're getting to you, then we can make better decisions on how we present to them. What does that mean? Well, that means if you have a lot of traffic coming from social media, what we know about social media traffic is it tends to spend less time on sites and tends to only visit a few pages. Reason being is if you're on a phone and you're on Facebook and you click on an ad, a lot of users are planning on staying on Facebook. So that ad takes them out of Facebook into a browser window, and they tend to want to click back in because they're engaging with Facebook. So understanding your sources of traffic will inform you as to why people are either staying on your site a long time or they're not, or if you have a low conversion rate or not. So understanding your source referral is important. Again, to reiterate, we're looking at total bookings, the source of those bookings, and the cost of that, right? If we got 100 bookings total, if we got 50 of them off of Google, 20 of them came to the Campground virtual tour, 20 of them came from Good Sam, and 10 of them came directly to my site, I now know where people are coming from. And I might agree or disagree with those numbers, and I can adjust through my marketing budget, because the next question I'll ask is, okay, if we got 50 off of Google, how much did it cost us to get those 50 visitors in? Remember I mentioned the data point of the average cost of or the average value of a camper. If the average value of our camper is $40 a night, we got 50 of them in off of Google. That's $2,000 in revenue, but it cost us $4,000 to do that. We're obviously not making any money, right? So we want to understand the cost of that source. And then we want to measure it and adjust it as we go along. So back to the question at hand. Hey, Mark, what can I do to get even more? And this came in from a client whose data report is really good. They're performing well, but there are ways that they can improve it. And so without going specific into that, I want to go in generic for everybody else. It starts with your website. And specifically, it starts with your website on a mobile phone. Not just your website, but specifically on a mobile phone. So for this advice, I'm showing you on a desktop screen, but I want you to look at both your website and the virtual tour from the perspective of somebody on a mobile phone, and you will see that in your analytics reports, roughly 70% of your visitors are on a mobile phone. So all this advice, start with a mobile phone first. What we want to discuss are the key elements your website needs to have in order to process the customer from interested into a booking. And in order to do that, we needed to develop a funnel process and a funnel mindset onto our website. So what that means is you're going to have some group or number of people that are ending up on your website from all sorts of different sources, and they're starting out at the top of a funnel. Every single person who's actually looking for a campground has several questions that are always the same questions. Number one, when somebody's looking for a campground or RV park, they're looking for a campground or RV park that is in or near a destination. So they're looking for a park that's in or near a destination. So they're going to a city to visit family, they're going to a national park, they're going on a vacation. They're always looking for a park that's in or near something. That's their primary number one search goal. So when they land on your website, it better be very obvious that your campground or RV park or RV resort is that, right? It is that location in or near the place that they're going to see. If you don't have that information, how are they going to know that you've solved their number one question, which is this a place I can stay where I'm going, right? Their next question is, assuming that you answer positively that you are, right? And there's going to be a drop off right there. So you're going to have a group of people who hit your website and you are not that. And in that case, they're going to leave your website or they're not going to continue on and book. So now we go a little bit down the funnel, and their next question is this a park that I would want to stay at? And their first question in that realm is this a park within my price range? So can I afford to stay here? Is it a high-end resort that's $150 a night or whatever, right? They want to know if it's in their budget. So their number one question is price. Then once they've understood that your park it's in the right location and it's in the right price range. Remember, you're going to have people dropping out, so you're going down this funnel further. Their next question is, does this park have the amenities and features I'm looking for? And that could be no amenities or it could be a lot of amenities. We don't know. It varies across the board. That's actually where we want to insert the virtual tour into the experience, because they've decided that you're in the right place for them. They've decided that you have the prices that are in their budget. The next thing they want to do is they're trying to figure out if you're the right park, and the best thing you can do is then invite them in, and that's where the virtual tour comes into play as part of that amenities process. What we find is that if you insert it there as part of the amenities features, tour our park to see it for yourself, that's what ends up getting them to the next step, which is booking. So the simple funnel for a campground or RV park is, we're a park in the area you want to be at, we're in your price range, and we offer what you're looking for in a campground. Here's how you book. And so that's how the general funnel of a campground looks like. So what you need to do within your website is, at a minimum, you need to have these key elements. Number one, you need to have a homepage. That homepage does what again? It tells them you're the right park for them in that area. You need to have a rates page. This gets tricky if you have variable pricing or dynamic pricing. I recommend having rates from or a rate range so people know that you're within their budget no matter where your price is at, so rate ranges. Some people argue that they actually want to send people into a booking process before providing pricing, and I understand their argument there, but I know from a consumer's perspective, consumers don't want to go through that whole booking process to figure out the price. Tell them up front so they can figure it out after the fact if you're interesting to them. So you have a rates page, amenities page, contact us, and then you're booked now. The contact us is actually a contact us / directions. You have both pieces of information on that page. Your clear path to booking is to have a nice online booking system that somebody can book your park on. So I hope that's really clear. Home, rates, amenities, contact us, book now. You'll notice that that's a pretty simple menu structure, and this one always challenges folks because a lot of campground and RV park owners tend to get really superfluous with their websites. They'll have all sorts of tabs and links and photos and everything that they like about their park and that they find interesting, but it's all ignoring the one key thing that you need to know about marketing your campground. Campers don't care about you. They care about themselves and their camping experience. So if your website's talking all about you without actually engaging with them, that's where you're going to lose your guests. So it's a hard concept to understand, but you need to look at your website from the perspective of them wanting to come stay at you versus you wanting them to come stay at you. Does that make sense? Speak to them through your website about them and how they are going to enjoy the experience of your park, not so much about you and what you've done to build your park, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, I can clarify by simply getting some questions out of that. So now I'm going to pause real fast and jump over to an actual demonstration that shows. Okay, I got this pulled up, and I'm actually going to turn off my camera so I can get out of the way here. We're looking at a park. They do have a virtual tour, and they're actually implementing all of these elements within this website. It's a really good example of a park that's doing things right. And so what I'll show you about this, and I'm not saying you have to copy this design, but I just want to show you a design that works very effectively for an RV park. So the first thing to understand about this park is it's located along an interstate in a small town between Las Vegas and Moab, Utah. So you actually drive through a canyon as you turn on to Interstate 70, I believe it is, and start heading east across the Utah desert. But before you get to the desert, you go through a mountain range, and that's where this park is. It's in the town of Richfield, Utah. So on the homepage here, it says Richfield by their logo, Richfield here, and then if you scroll down, there's some information about Utah and where they're at. So on the homepage itself, when you first hit it, you answer the question of who they are. Then through that web page, we're answering some other questions all within one photograph. You want to be able to communicate to your guests in pictures or video because people don't read or have the time to read. So we want to communicate through photos or video. In this case, this photo was selected because it communicates several things in one image. Number one, it shows the hills in the background. Number two, it shows a family-friendly environment by having the playground here and the public areas with the ball courts. Number three, you'll notice there's a bunch of toy haulers in this location, and they look big. The sites are big. So all in one image, we've communicated that the park has large sites, it accommodates toy haulers, it's family-friendly, it's in the area that I want to go. The other thing you'll notice is right on the homepage, it says their rates, and they use dynamic pricing, so it says sites from $55. Depending upon demand, it could go up. But all within that one spot right here, we have all the information that I discussed. Then you'll notice up at the top, they have their virtual tour. So a user can click on that virtual tour, and the virtual tour is not embedded within their website, so we're not having to worry about other web elements blocking us. The virtual tour actually opens as its own dedicated window. This is very important on mobile phones. Smaller screens opening up the virtual tour as its own window allows the user to more easily interact with the virtual tour. And this, as you're experiencing, because you're viewing this campground probably for the first time in your life, this virtual tour is the power of what we have because you are able to see and understand the entire layout of the property through this experience. Incredibly valuable. Obviously, you know that because you have it on your own site right now. So that virtual tour, we just covered all of the major elements without even having to scroll down on the page. Notice that? Now, if I scroll down, I do start to get more details about the amenities and features. They're right on an ATV trail, and this is a feature they really want to highlight because these folks can come spend a week there and go travel up and off-road. They have a nice clubhouse. They have more photos here. So all within this first page, there's all the information a guest needs to then book, and the book button is very clearly up here on the right and also in the middle of the screen. They do have then a rates page where they discuss the rates, very high level really, because we already have the rates page there. We're just taking the book now. And then we have the directions tying with another link to the virtual tour, which you can select on, and that's an embedded virtual tour that's actually embedded within their park or within their website. And then they have points of interest. So instead of amenities, because we've communicated all the amenities, they're highlighting features and points of interest around their campground here. So this is a good example. Now, I'm not saying you need to copy this. I'm not saying that your site's not any worse or any better. I'm just showing you a site utilizing all the elements within an effective marketing package to communicate to campers. With that, feel free to send me any questions via email that you have if you want me to specifically look at your park. And we appreciate you using the virtual tours. And not just us. We don't just appreciate it. Campers appreciate that you have those virtual tours. As you know, they work. They drive a lot of folks in. They help them better understand your campgrounds. And we'll do more of these sessions as they come along. And I hope you got value out of it. Talk to you all soon.